Oh. Good. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here. Our Republican colleagues are running the same playbook against climate action that they did against Waxman Markey 12 years ago. Dither, delay, deny. This time, we are prepared for their attack. President Biden and Leader Schumer know what we're up against, the importance of climate action and what the American people need. And I want to commend their disciplined leadership for giving Democratic senators a chance to work in a bipartisan fashion. That's the way the Senate should operate. But my friends, it's time for us to put on that classic song by Fleetwood Mac. It's time for us to go our own way. This is as clear as day. No climate, no deal. We need to move forward with 50 Democratic votes now that the Republicans have shown us they are not serious about creating clean energy jobs, jump-starting a clean energy revolution, or adding the standards and investments we need to attack this crisis. I know that the leadership is committed to getting this done, and we should wrap up our work on a climate infrastructure bill by the August recess. We should wrap up all of the infrastructure bills, climate and family, by the August break. We shouldn't leave here until we get it done. We cannot let Republican calls for bipartisanship deny the American people the climate action that they have been demanding. Last fall, Americans in every corner of this country voted for climate action. And right now, they are holding these IOUs. The GOP, or the Gas and Oil Party, would love nothing better than for these voters to be disillusioned by gridlock and inaction. But we know better. And we're going to do better because climate action is both good policy and it is good politics. President Biden's American Rescue Plan was immensely popular with Americans of both parties and with independents. And we got it done along party lines because the Republicans refused to get serious about the challenges facing us. The same principles of victory from earlier this year must guide us in this new endeavor. Climate action has bipartisan support outside of Congress. 76% of Americans believe that climate change is either a critical or important threat, including 74% of independents and 58% of Republicans. Let's get this done for the American people. Let's get it done before we break for August. Let us put this on the front burner. Let's get it done because it has to be done. Otherwise, we will fall into the Republican trap of delay and denial that will ultimately harm and perhaps preclude our ability to act in this very important area. Let me turn and recognize Jeff Merkley, who has taken on all of the tough issues this year, setting an agenda for the Democrats and for our country. Thank you, Jeff.
The case for bold action, it couldn't be clearer. We've already had hundreds of fires in the West this year. If you compare the 30 years from 1990 to 2020, the average per year, to the previous 30 years, you see a dramatic change in the amount of drought. You see a dramatic change in the amount of heat. The impact affects rural America everywhere. Fiercer storms, more drought, greater fires. We're talking about an impact on the foundations of rural America, and that is on our forests, on our fishing, and on our farming. So this is not partisan. This is not urban-rural. This is all of America responding to a grave threat, a threat that is a planetary threat. And it needs to be America acting because we have the problem here in America, but America acting because we need America's leadership in the world. The air is a planetary commons. We have to work in partnership with the world. And if we don't set the example and we don't drive the conversation, no one else will. So here we are at this critical question. Will we take bold action on climate infrastructure? Will we invest hugely in renewable energy into the grid? Will we upgrade that grid? Will we invest extensively in energy efficiency? And will we convert the end uses that are dependent upon fossil fuels into a system based on that renewable electricity? That's from buses to cars, to the heating systems of buildings, to electric pickups and tractors, which are being prepared to create that economy across this country. That investment in these areas will have a profound impact on our renewable energy economy here in the United States and create millions of good-paying jobs. So this is about saving the planet, but it's also about a profound impact on working America. Again, this is not partisan. And so therefore, when we talk about infrastructure, when the ship sails on infrastructure, energy investments cannot be left on the docks. If there is no climate, there is no deal.
Beautiful questions. Yes, ma'am.
So when you say no climate, what policies specifically are you including in that as a red line?
Well, Senator Merkley just went down the scope of the problem, the wildfires, the flooding, everything that's happening in our country and for the planet, and the revolution that we have to unleash. The Republican Party, the gas and oil party, has been supporting tax breaks for the oil, gas, and coal industry for 100 years. What we're asking for is to put together a set of policies that unleashes the wind and solar and all-electric vehicle and plug-in hybrid, the battery storage technologies, the transmission systems, the changes in the agricultural and industrial sectors that will create millions of union jobs, while at the same time ensuring that we have environmental justice, that those communities who have been most adversely impacted are given disproportionate benefits this round. So we know that we can do it, and we know that the policies are there. It just has to be in any final bill, which we're putting on the floor of the Senate to send over to the White House. That's the challenge which we have, and we think that the Senate is capable of meeting that challenge. Yes.
Bernie Sanders said yesterday that he would not vote for this $974 billion bipartisan package. One of the things he said is it doesn't have progressive pay for it. He said at a time of massive wealth inequality, you've got to have progressive pay for it, and he's not going to support it. Could you support this bipartisan proposal that's come out? Either of you vote for it with maybe the possibility of a reconciliation package following up?
I could not. I agree that we have many opportunities to put together a progressive tax package in order to pay for the infrastructure climate bill. All the working ingredients are there. I won't go through the list. Bernie does that very well. But obviously, there were tax cuts that were given back in the Trump early years. There are other areas where we can look at that will provide the revenues to be able to pay for this program. And I do believe strongly that that is the direction in which we should be heading.
Are you worried that
And if we're looking at a deal on infrastructure going to the floor that does not have the energy investments in it, and which there has not been a deal worked out on reconciliation to have those energy investments, then absolutely not. I will not support the package.
Do you have assurances from the White House, from President Biden, that they feel the same way that we do, that strong climate provisions has to be in a package that passes Congress?
Well, that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for the Biden climate infrastructure bill. That's what we're standing up for. It was big. It was bold. It matches the scope of the problem, and that's what we're continuing to stand up and fighting for.
But are you worried that your leadership might cut a deal that leaves the progressive wing behind because you'll have 60, 70 votes in the middle?
No, I feel very strongly that that Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer want a very strong climate infrastructure bill to pass, and we are aligned with them in moving towards that ultimate end goal. And I think at the end of the day, you'll see that that was a partnership that never was broken. That we stood with Joe Biden and with Chuck Schumer throughout the entirety of this battle.
The majority leader is absolutely committed to having this energy infrastructure be tied closely together, which is essential. But I want to give a little historical perspective here. If we turn the clock back, we first had climate be part of a major presidential debate when Dukakis was running against the first President Bush. As you might recall, Dukakis was running on coal, and George Bush was running on climate. Now, George Bush won, and then he failed to do anything, and a moment was lost. We cannot lose this moment. Now we are a generation later, and the problem has become so much horrendously worse. The Biden team was elected, and the majorities in the House and Senate were elected on the promise of action, and we cannot let the American people down, and we cannot let our planet down. This has to be part of the deal.
Can you clarify, Senators? There's been a lot of talk about the two-track process for this, a deal with Republicans on whatever you can agree on, and then something else because the Democratic priority is done. Are you saying you would only vote for one if you get the other, or are you saying this is a bad plan, we need to just do one big bill just our way?
We're saying that there absolutely has to be a guaranteed deal that climate is built into these infrastructure bills, and that it matches the problem that has to be solved. We can't have dessert before the main course. The main course is a climate infrastructure bill. We need roads. We need bridges. We need many other things that will be part of this climate infrastructure bill, but we can't leave the climate behind. We have to have a guarantee that it will be included in a bill that has the votes to be put ultimately on the desk of President Biden.
So it's fair to say you're agnostic on whether it's one bill, if you get it all in one, or if you do it, with two, but a guarantee?
There has to be a guarantee, ultimately, an absolute, unbreakable guarantee that climate is going to be at the center of any infrastructure deal which we cut. So we can haggle over what the processes may be, but we can't over what the end product is as it is leaving the Senate. It must have climate at its center.
Two tracks welded together, and before the infrastructure bill, the bipartisan bill, ever goes to the floor, we have the 50 votes, hopefully a lot of Republicans joining us, but the 50 votes to make sure that a reconciliation process is guaranteed.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
If you don't get this deal you're talking about on climate, where do you go on the issue of climate? What legislation do you look at? What do you do? You're chairman of the Interior PA subcommittee. Do you look at doing things with spending that committee? Where do you go on climate without a deal?
We will get this deal. That's what we're saying. We're telling you today we're going to get this deal. Our leadership supports it. It absolutely has to happen.
Yeah, we are going to be successful, and we have to stay here for as long as it takes. If we don't have a climate infrastructure bill by August 6th, then we have to stay. Otherwise, we will have a climate crisis and a legislative crisis. We have to finish this bill. We can do it. And ultimately, failure is not an option. Thank you all so much. Thanks for being here.